Golden Boy Brett Dolan joining us here on Halftime for a Thursday segment. Always appreciate Brett's time. You hear a little chuckle back there. So where in the world are you today, Brett?
Oh, I'm at Bud Walton Arena. I'm wondering how I've become Paul Hornung, the Golden Boy, but that's okay. That's fine.
It's just a dumb luck of being the guy who's being introduced by David Bowie's golden years there. What's at Bud Walton tonight? We got no basketball there tonight. What are you doing there?
Well, it's just that week. You know what it's like, getting ready for a baseball season. Everything stops or starts next Thursday for me. We got the women's basketball, then it's baseball, and there's a huge Division II softball tournament in Bentonville all weekend, so my daughter's here, so I might as well be here to try and see as many games as I can, and then you and I really kind of crank it up next week, which is what we like to do this time of the year, rain, snow, or sleet.
Yeah, we really do. Just your thoughts on Arkansas's win over Texas yesterday, and really just the last two games, because we haven't spoken to you since Arkansas put together a real, legitimate conference road winning streak, in which it looks like there very well may be a turnaround right now.
It could be, and I know my question was, like anybody else, was Saturday a one-off, or was it the beginning of something good? You know, Saturday was a bizarro day in college basketball last Saturday. So, again, I wasn't sure if Arkansas was part of that. I mean, Florida scored 44 points. Iowa State never loses at home. They got throttled at home. Kansas blew a 20-point lead at Fog Allen. Oklahoma scored 30 more than Vanderbilt, almost 100. I didn't think they could score 70, and it was just one after another of bizarre things. I mean, the Musbus had a win at Michigan State. So was Arkansas just part of just a bizarre day, or was there something a little better? And clearly they looked pretty good yesterday, certainly in that first half. And, Craig Way, who does Texas radio, and myself are probably two people that text a lot in games. So at some point in the first half, I sent him a text bill. I said, is this how the Longhorns offense normally plays? Because this is pitiful. And I wanted to find out how much credit to give the Razorbacks and how much was Texas just playing like hot garbage. And obviously I think Arkansas caused a lot of turnovers and forced them into a lot of bad shots while they were playing really good offensively, and the cushion they built up was enough to hang on, because Texas was going to be running uphill the rest of the day. So far so good as far as getting two wins on the road. Probably many of us didn't give them a chance to do so after they had split that two-game homestand against teams that were probably not as talented as they were.
Hey, Brett, who's your top two, top three, not named Auburn or Duke, but who would you go when you're looking college basketball landscape? Is there a couple teams that you really are intrigued by that you think, hey, man, like Phil and I were talking earlier, I think Alabama is a team that a lot of people are going to pencil into the Final Four. Who are a couple of these teams that you think, you know what, man, these guys are going to be there at the end?
No, I think that's a good one. And, Matt, it's hard because I was, in Tucson a couple of Mondays ago, and Iowa State rolled in third in the country, and many people were saying, well, this is a top five type team. They got beat. They've lost twice since then and haven't looked good. And it's amazing how quickly you go from thinking a team is a Final Four candidate or a strong candidate to what in the world is going on with them. And Tennessee went through a stretch like that, I think, at one point in this conference slate when they were number one, and we were all kind of giving them a lot of credit, and then they started to stumble too. So I think Alabama's a team I want to see on Saturday for just that reason, because of the volume of points that they score. It's really hard to compete with teams that can score that on a consistent basis, and that'll be Arkansas's challenge. And I think if they show that they can continue to do that, they're going to be one of a handful of teams that I think just about all of us will have on a list that we would put down as Final Four type teams.
But that's one of those games that you're going to have look at. They just have 8 players get on the court, and that probably is the case. All 8 have to contribute. And I think for the most part you got that yesterday. I just kind of am expecting at some point, can you consistently play Nelly 37, 39 minutes? Can you do that? Z played 35 minutes. I think that's a career high in the Texas game. I wonder about the legs of the team, because they've had these legs for these 2 games. I mean, I'm not saying they haven't played, that they've run out of energy in these last 2 games. I don't think that's the case. But this is the rotation that they have. It's not going to change. I don't think Boogie's coming back until postseason, if he does come back, and if there's postseason. So I just wonder what this looks like in 3 weeks.
No, it's a valid question. I think the one thing is that these guys were not overworked early in the year because all of them seemed to have some type of ailment. Davis had the hand injury, so that probably wasn't as prevalent as what Adu was dealing with a foot or whatever that was. And the team wasn't scrimmaging a lot early because they didn't have enough people to scrimmage. So I don't know if that plays into the fact that maybe they can handle some more minutes, because you're right. Right now they have to. They can't afford another rolled ankle or another issue that might derail one of these guys from their core rotation for a period of time. The other aspect about this, and I think it gets to the theme of why this team has maybe played a little bit better, and especially without Boogie, it was a little more process-oriented, a little slower offense with him in the rhythms of what they were trying to do. And now it's a little more free-flowing. The ball seems to be moving faster. The shooters seem to like it for the most part. And that does also kind of play into the fact it's not just the minutes they're playing. It seems like they're playing harder on defense, and they're playing a little crisper on offense. So, those 35, 36 minutes might feel like every bit 40-plus the way that they have been playing in these last two games.
Baseball next Friday. So, I've watched plenty of these scrimmages. I'll get another look at them tomorrow. I know I've seen you at the scrimmages as well. I know it's a program that's always been pointed in the right direction. Even just one bad blip on the radar over these last, 22 years with DVH, 65% win percentage in the SEC since 2018. That has nothing to do with this season. That has everything to do with where the program is. You don't win 65% of your SEC games in a 6-year period without having a tremendously run program. When you look at these last 2 years, I think it says a lot about the coaches and how they did putting this team together, and then having them in a proper mindset, and the guys too, that they actually won 40 SEC games in these last 2 years. But I also think that this team looks like it's more talented, deeper, more balanced in terms of lefty and righty, and more balanced in terms of good starters and good relievers, more balance in terms of power and speed, and hopefully contact. That's a thing that I'd like to see more this next year, contact. And, we saw more contact last year, Brett, but it was more weak contact. I think you're going to see more stronger contact this year.
I think that's the hope. You go back over those numbers. I mean, it was 2018 when I got here, so I've been fortunate in the sense, all the winning you talk about, I've been able to have a pretty good seed, and that's the 20-win SEC seasons and 40-plus win seasons. Obviously, that elevates the expectations, and when that does happen, and then the team doesn't get out of their own regional the last couple of years, it's a unique season because of both the volume of success and then not being able to get to at least a super regional, because I think we've had, 5 different SEC teams have won national championships in the last 5 years. So it's been spread around, and Arkansas would like to get back to Omaha to have their chance at that. I agree with you. I think there is certainly more depth from a starting pitching standpoint. I think there's a number of individuals that I still haven't seen enough to know what it's going to look like with Dolan and Maxwell and Pepe and whatnot in Iredale. It seems like they've constructed this roster well, and the one thing DVH has done in this wild era of NIL is still find people who want to be here because they understand that being here makes them better players for the individual and for the team. But I think this first month, though, Phil, I still want to see, can this first base situation be figured out? What's the outfield going to look like on a regular basis? Will Iredale be a middle-of-the-lineup type guy? And then how does that lineup look? I do think there'll be more contact. I do think there'll be a little more running, but you still got to be able to hit some thump and knock the ball over the fence from time to time. And then that's going to be, I guess, what I'm curious to see over these next 3 or 4 weeks while they alternate between playing a lot of home games and some pretty good competition.
If you got a chance to, I know you have. You've spoken to some of these guys in some cases too. Charles Dolan looks like a really interesting player. Coming over from Florida Gulf Coast, he'll probably be the opening day center fielder. He's left-handed. He's got a unique style of hitting. He'll lift that right leg and kind of hang it up in the air a little bit. But he hit 10 home runs last year while also stealing 13 bases at Florida Gulf Coast. And I was told he's put on 20 pounds of muscle And you can see it when, I think you see a lot of that from guys that are coming from some lower levels up to Arkansas, and just how much stronger you can get here. He's somebody that really has stood out to me so far. And I wonder what you thought about Dolan and anybody else that might have popped in your eyes of what you've just seen of some of the limited scrimmages.
Well, I think Iredale's one of those guys that's kind of jumped out to me. Dolan, I would agree, is intriguing because even just today, as I was trying to compile some notes, some of these scouting services, there was a comment about top 3-round buzz for Dolan, and that means you're going to make a lot of money if that holds true. And I think it is probably that combination of bat-to-ball skills and speed that has people excited. I have no clue what he's like defensively. We'll figure that out. But looking at those numbers and the stolen bases, if you're a 15 double, 15 stolen base, 10 home run guy, you're going to generate some interest. And the one thing I think that stood out to me, Phil, regarding maybe a little different look, we were interviewing Vahiva Aloy, and I said to him, hey, do you know who led this team in stolen bases last year? And his answer was 10 seconds of laughter because he knew it was him with 7. And I said, will 7 lead the team this year? He goes, oh, no chance. And that's where I think a guy like Dolan and others will come in. Now, we know there's a risk-reward to running, and if Arkansas stumbles and they start losing base runners, what's DVH's appetite to continue to give away 2 or 3 outs a game? I don't know. We'll find out together, but I'm with you. I think Dolan, with his very unique stance, which is almost Ichiro on steroids type of a look, and his skill set, what that's going to play out to be for this team.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football to NBA, college basketball to NHL and UFC, BetOnline is your number one sports betting source for the new year. From every touchdown to three-pointer and hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.